Hello grade 8 and welcome to Math with Mr. S. We've just been looking at applying the measures of central tendency, and now we're getting into ways that data are represented graphically. And specifically today, we're looking at the histogram. And you can see here, this is on page 216 in your textbook, you can see a standard bar graph here on the left, and on this side, a histogram. And you'll probably notice a few basic differences right away. One of the main ones being that we have spaces between the bars here, whereas in a histogram we do not. And there is a reason for that. And that's what we'll be exploring together today, and how to set one of these up yourself. So to do that, we're going to look at some data that's given to you here in your textbook. And it's this set of data here, where a student has gone ahead and recorded the heights of all the grade 8 students in his school, and these are the heights in centimeters that he got. And we want to represent that graphically. And if you think it through carefully and you imagine yourself drawing a bar graph for this, you're basically going to have a bar for every height that you see here, and it's not going to give you a very great representation of how these different heights compare to each other. It's an example of when a group of data are better represented when you group them together in intervals and then represent how many are in each interval. And you've seen the stem and leaf plot before, which is another form of representation that does exactly that. Here, this data has been moved into a stem and leaf plot. So this 13 really means 130, and so this first data point is 130, that's 133, that's 134, and etc. So we've grouped these different data into intervals. And if you look at it carefully, you'll notice that this row represents every height in centimeters beginning at 130 and going as high as, but not including, 140. As soon as we get as high as 140, we jump to the next row. And here we have everything that is from 140 up to, but not including, 150. If we get to 150, we jump to the next row, etc., etc. And a histogram is really almost like taking a stem and leaf plot like this and then turning it this way so that it looks a bit like a bar graph instead of a series of numbers. The stem and leaf plot gives us each individual data point. The histogram does not, and we'll see how that works in just a moment. The first thing we need to do is set up a set of axes on which to place our histogram. And I have that done right here. You may recall that the data involved the height in centimeters of grade 8 students. And this word frequency here means how many students were in each of these intervals. You may recall that the first interval in the stem and leaf gave us all the values in the 130s up to and not including anything in 140. So what we're going to do is indicate how many students lie in that interval up here in the bar that we draw. So if we look again at our stem and leaf, we can count up how many students are in this interval. Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then on my histogram, I am going to go up to the 6, which is here. So I can now draw that bar in. Recall that this is all the students who are anywhere from 130 up to, but not including, the 140. So that's the first bar done in our histogram. Then, as soon as we look at the next bar, it's everybody that is at 140 and higher, up to but not including 150. So let's look back at our stem and leaf plot again. The people in that interval are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. students in that next interval. So I will now go up as high as this. And we can draw that next one in. So I hope you're starting to see that what we've done here is to group this data on heights into intervals, and then figure out how many people are in each interval. And so we would continue going like this and create the next bar. We go back to our stem and leaf and figure out how many are in the 150s, then the 160s, etc. I'll do one more with you before we move on to the exercises. So let's just take a look at the ones in the interval of the 150s. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we'll make our next one go up to that level, which is here. And in a moment, what we'll do is we'll compare the look of the histogram to the original stem and leaf plot to look for the similarities. So there's my next interval. Now, let's put the stem and leaf plot on its end. You will see a shape here of growing heights now that it's on its side, and then diminishing again. And if I continue my stem and leaf, you will see if we count them up, the next interval has the same number as the last one we drew, and then the next interval comes down, and the next one down after that. So the shape is very much like our stem and leaf, but instead of being oriented across this way, it's oriented upward, and it's all about intervals. All right, I hope that gives you what you need. Here is a picture of the finished histogram right here. You can see that if you go back to the stem and leaf, you'll see how very much this shape is just recreated in the upward direction instead of the horizontal direction on the stem and leaf. All right, don't forget to check Classroom for your exercises today. I hope this goes well, and we'll see you next time. Can you see? It's just that easy.